Dolphins fans, we're so close to becoming the #1 Miami Dolphins YouTube channel. Help us get there by the end of the month. Go down and subscribe to the channel right now. Dolphins fans, welcome in to Dolphins Today. I am Will Scott. A lot of news to discuss on today's show, and we've been so patient waiting for Vic Fangio to sign his contract. He finally did so this morning. The official announcement coming from the Miami Dolphins. In the words of Lizzo, it's about damn time. The Dolphins saying, we have named Vic Fangio our defensive coordinator. Welcome to Miami, Vic. And you know what this makes me want to do, producer Jack Lauderay? You know what this makes me want to do? Is we bring producer Jack Lauderay on screen? Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. They take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. They're in the air, they're on the ground, they're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl, because we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins #1. Hey, because we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins #1. The Dolphins have done it. We have spoken it into existence. Back in November, I was saying, fire Josh Boyer, hire Vic Fangio. And here I am, standing before y'all on Wednesday, February 15th at 4:14 p.m. Eastern Time. It is official. Vic Fangio is the Dolphins defensive coordinator. This comes about 2.5 weeks after he initially agreed to the deal. And then in the days following, there was speculation. Why hasn't he signed the deal yet? You're hearing from Josina Anderson and some other national reporters that the 49ers might go after him. The Denver Broncos might go after him with Sean Payton. But then it came out that he's going to stay in Miami. But then he signed a 2-week contract with Philadelphia to help them with the Super Bowl as a consultant. And then after Jonathan Gannon, the Eagles defensive coordinator, got hired to be the Cardinals head coach yesterday, more speculation that maybe a Fangio to Miami would not happen because the Eagles might go after him. But he finally put pen to paper on the contract today. We can all take a deep sigh of relief. It has been a long time. We've been patient. But you're bringing in someone who has 19 years of DC experience in the NFL. This is an unbelievable hire from the Miami Dolphins. So I want y'all to go down in the comments section and grade the hire. Type A, B, C, D, or F down in the comments section. Taking a look at Vic Fangio, what he's done throughout his career. So he started as the Saints linebackers coach, was there for 9 seasons, then was the Panthers defensive coordinator when Carolina became a franchise, then was with the Colts, then the Texans, then was the Stanford defensive coordinator under Jim Harbaugh, then followed Harbaugh to the 49ers where he was a Super Bowl defensive coordinator, led the Niners to a Super Bowl appearance as the DC, then was the Bears DC, had a top 10 defense pretty much every season in Chicago, then was the defensive play caller in Denver, even as the Broncos head coach, then spent this past season with the Eagles as a consultant, helped the Eagles reach the Super Bowl. Here's what The Athletic said about Vic Fangio. In an interview with ESPN prior to the 2019 season, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and Matt LaFleur were all asked which coach's defense is the most difficult to read and attack. All 3 highly successful play callers answered Vic Fangio. What makes Fangio's defense the best response to modern offenses? It's too high, too deep safeties. Structure limits explosive plays and forces offenses to stay patient and throw short. The front mechanics allow the defense to slow down the run with light boxes and commit more resources to coverage. And Vic Fangio is going to have a lot of young talent to work with on this Dolphins team. Javon Holland, I think, will be a top 3 safety in the NFL next year. He's on the way. Brandon Jones is great. Jalen Phillips, great 2 first seasons for the former first-round pick. Bradley Chubb and Fangio have been reunited from their time in Denver. Zach Sealer, Christian Wilkins, Xavier Howard, Kader Kohu. A lot of toys for Vic Fangio here. And this is a game changer for this Miami Dolphins team. They were not a contender this year for 2 reasons. Number 1, Tua's health. Number 2, the defense. The defense ranked 24th in scoring in the National Football League. A lot of injuries, I get it. Still inexcusable. Now you add one of the best defensive minds of this era to this team to call the defensive plays. Game-changing hire, and it makes the Dolphins Super Bowl contenders right now. Rate the Dolphins defense. Scale it 1 to 10 down in the comments section. How does the Vic Fangio hire kind of change your thinking here? Rate the Dolphins defense down below. Scale it 1 to 10. Again, Vic Fangio has been hired as the new Dolphins defense coordinator. It's official. The team has announced it. We can all celebrate now. It's been a little while, but it is now officially official. Now let's get into our next story, talking about our 2023 MVP odds. Is Tua Tagovailoa up there? We'll tell you in a second. But first, go down and get his jersey. If you think Tua can be MVP next year, go and support Uno by getting his jersey. And also some other items on sale right now, like some T-shirts. Tua gear's on sale right now at chatsports.com/Tua. Go and take advantage. I'm not sure how long it's going to be on sale. The bosses are telling me it could be maybe the end of the weekend. So take advantage right now. chatsports.com/Tua. That link, we'll post it in the comments for you right now. chatsports.com/Tua. I mentioned those MVP odds. Here's what we're looking at here. So Tua Tagovailoa is a top 5 contender for MVP. Patrick Mahomes was crowned the National Football League MVP last week. The season wrapped up on Sunday, so now we're seeing next season's odds released. Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow are tied for the MVP frontrunner going into next year, along with Josh Allen, and then Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jalen Hurts also on this list. Tua and Hurts tied for 5th in these odds, and this comes after an impressive breakout season for Tua. Keep in mind, you're looking at these numbers, he only played 12 and a half games, right? 25 touchdowns, 8 picks, over 3,500 yards, a 64.8% completion percentage. He really showcased his potential, and he finished the season ranked first in the NFL in passer rating, tied for first in passing touchdowns per attempt, first in yards per attempt, first in yards per completion. But hey, I thought he couldn't throw the deep ball. I thought he was checked down Tua. Here he is, first in yards per completion amongst all NFL quarterbacks during the 2022 NFL season. Now, can Tua win MVP next year? Y for yes, in for no, down in the comments section. Go down, let me know. I'll say this. If the Dolphins win the division next year, which is very possible, I don't think Buffalo is going to be as good, and I think Miami is going to be better because of Vic Fangio and because I think Tua is just going to be healthier next year. He's, you heard him talking about his plans this offseason to kind of learn how to fall, and maybe we'll see the helmet situation changed. I don't know. Hopefully the offensive line improves. But if Tua stays healthy and the Dolphins win the division and he puts up really solid numbers, he absolutely can. If the Dolphins go 12-5 next year, let's say, win the division, beat Buffalo, he can absolutely win the National Football League MVP. In fact, if you were to tell me right now the Dolphins were going to win the division next year, I'd probably tell you that Tua will win MVP. But a question the Dolphins are going to have this offseason is whether or not to pick up Tua Tagovailoa's 5th-year option. I think they should, as I mentioned earlier, but his 5th-year option would pay him a little over $23 million in 2024. The deadline to pick it up, they have some time because the deadline is after the NFL draft. Here's what Jeremy Fowler of ESPN said about that situation. If we're taking the Dolphins at their word, Tua Tagovailoa is the unquestioned starting quarterback in 2023. That makes the first objective of the offseason a simple yet relatively helpless one. Hope he stays healthy. Many league execs say they would not exercise Tagovailoa's 5th-year option because of the health concerns, not his play. But Miami has backed him at every step. Tagovailoa finished 3rd in QBR last season at 68.8, but was limited to 13 games and missed the Dolphins' playoff appearance. So here's Jeremy Fowler of ESPN saying that a lot of league execs would not pick up this option, perhaps speculating that the Dolphins are perhaps thinking about not picking up the option. Now, before I get into my thoughts, I want to hear from y'all. Do you want to pick up Tua's 5th-year option, which again would pay him $23.2 million in 2024? Not next year, but in 2024. Type P for pick it up, or type D for don't down in the comments section. I would pick it up. When you look at $23.2 million, that's not that much for a high-caliber starting quarterback. Daniel Jones is projected to get over $35 million in free agency. I think we can all agree that Tua's a much better quarterback than Daniel Jones. It's a win-win situation when you're talking about picking up the 5th-year option. It gives Tua another year to increase his value, and I said the same thing about Christian Wilkins last year. And it gives the Dolphins some time to figure out if Tua is the long-term answer. I think he is. So I think it's an easy decision. Pick up the fifth-year option. If he stays healthy and performs well, you give him a massive extension next offseason. Because if he stays healthy, if he plays well, I think he'd prove himself as the long-term option quarterback for Miami. Go down, subscribe to the channel. We're going to continue to keep you posted on all Dolphins offseason content. Go down, subscribe to the channel right now, Dolphins fans.